Okay, good afternoon, guys. It's Paul Green here from the business community. We're doing one of our regular business bulletins that's helping people that have either been made redundant or are facing redundancy. And I'm pleased to say, let me switch off the notifications. I'm pleased to say I'm joined today by Tony Naggs and Steve Hayward from Digital Future First. Hi, guys.
Hello. Afternoon, Paul. Afternoon, everyone.
Welcome. And what they're going to do is they're going to, tell us a little bit about what Digital Future First is, because there may be people out there that are watching this live or on the replay that don't actually know what Digital Future First is. And they're going to talk about a particular package that they have that's designed specifically to help people that are being made redundant. So, Tony, if you want to say a little bit about Digital Future First, what it is, how it came about, and what the overall objectives of Digital First are, that'd be really useful.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it. Digital Future First is the name of a project that is part funded by the European Social Fund to provide SMEs, small to medium enterprises, within the South East Midlands Local Enterprise Partnership area, i.e. Northamptonshire, Bedfordshire and Milton Keynes, with the access to and knowledge of all the range of other government and non-government programs that are around. Could be business incentives, could be grants, it could be vocational training, such as Kickstart, Traineeships, Apprenticeships, etc., etc. There are a myriad of them. I'm the managing director of a company called Learning and Skills Academy. Steve worked for a company called SupplyAnd, and there's another delivery partner called DBFB. The three of us came together, formed the project under the banner of Digital Future First, which is the name of the project. It's around for about 3 years, Paul. We just kicked it off a few months ago, and it's a free-to-use service. There's no charges for anything that we do. We draw down funding from the European Social Fund, so everything's paid for from that and from our side. So that the people who actually access the program, no cost for our services, which is advice, guidance, consultancy support to get people to understand, because I think we all realise that there's a lot of stuff out there, but one, you don't know where it is, and two, you don't know how to access it, and it's a bit of a minefield in terms of red tape. So that's where it came from, really.
No, absolutely. It's what I've found over the years. There's different signpost organisations, and local ones and regional ones, and things like that. It can be a bit baffling for the small business owner. I'd certainly recommend, from what I've seen, is to go to the Digital Future First site, take a look around. It's quite clear to see some of the programmes you have, and also to sign up for your regular newsletter, so people are being kept up to date. So one of the programmes that you offer focuses on people that have been made redundant. So, Steve, do you want to say a little bit about what that program is and how that works?
Yeah, sure. So, hi, everybody. So, Skills Support for Redundancy is an initiative that was designed to support employers and individuals that have been affected by redundancy. So, to be very clear, this is for employees that have maybe been identified as at risk of being made redundant. So, this is a way for them to access funded training to help them upskill. And there's a few different categories. So obviously upskill for workplace success or career progression training, and indeed support with securing a new job. But the point of this is it can be bespoke. It's accredited training as well. You can do full modules, or you can mix and match. So there's a lot of flexibility around this. And of course, we are talking about the region of the SEMLEP region, obviously South East Midlands Local Enterprise Partnership, but SSR is a nationwide thing as well. So it's part of the government's plan to help people in businesses that have been identified at risk of redundancy and help them upskill, retrain, find a new position, and hopefully not be without a job.
Okay, and does this only apply for people right now that have been made redundant, or if people are facing redundancy, can they approach you guys for this support?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that the point is it's people that have been identified at risk. So usually what happens in these horrible situations is the employee goes through what they call a consultation process. It's not very nice, as I'm sure you can appreciate, but essentially it's where they consult with their employer and they say, look, unfortunately, you've been identified as at risk of redundancy. And then that would be the case where you would then say that they are, that they could access that potential training. But anybody that's interested in it can have a conversation with myself or Tony. They can book a slot on our website. Actually, they can book a virtual meeting with me to go through it in more detail.
Yeah, just to add to that, Paul, if I may.
Yeah.
And Steve's absolutely correct that the main focus has been over the last few months of people who are at risk under the consultation process. They've expanded the program out to anybody who's been made redundant within the last 3 months, anybody who's 18 and over. So there's a lot of breadth and a lot of recognition from government that, you know, they can either be at risk of redundancy, and as long as they're in the area and they're over 18 and you know, either going through the consultation process, as Steve said, or have recently been made redundant, there is a level of support around. It's mainly aimed at level 2, which is sort of, for instance, things like team leading. Level 2 is the equivalent of 5 GCSEs, grade A to C. You've got leadership management, level 3, which is the next level up, which is above supervisory management. Sales and marketing training, IT user skills, AAT, which is finance training, some social media for business, customer service, warehouse and storage, practical skills for business, health and social care. There's quite a wide range of programs that are on offer from the delivery provider. And what we do, we obviously support you know, SME owner managers if they're going through this process with their staff, or individuals who've gone through this process, to work with us and the delivery provider to make sure they're getting the right bespoke training support that they need to make this exercise less painful.
Okay, so who is the partner that you work with to deliver the various offerings that you have?
Locally in Northamptonshire, it's an approved partner called TCHC, who are the consultancy home counties, and the way that works is Serco were instrumental in winning the contract. It's a European Social Fund contract, and then they have local delivery providers across the various regions. The local provider for Northamptonshire, who we both, Steve and I both know, we work with TCHC for other programs they do, but we are basically taking on an interest, walking it through, minimising the red tape, understanding the need, and then working with TCHC closely to make sure that what's passed over is fit for purpose from both the employer's end and the provider's end.
Okay, and is there a capacity for this? Have you got so many packages to offer, or just really?
No, it's as required.
Okay.
Larger companies, you're probably aware of, larger companies who have more than 20 redundancies per organisation have got to let job centres know, and they've got to fill in what's called an AR1, I think it's AR1. But you know, you're in a different situation for large companies compared to small companies who've got maybe 1 or 2 who are under the radar. They don't necessarily get, you know, the large companies will get support from job centres, will get direct central support on a different funding stream. But you know, SME owner managers, they've got to let 1 or 2 people go. It's a very, very painful exercise, and they tend to get very little support directly, either as an individual or as an employer, which is what this program was set up to do. It was to provide that little bridge between, I'm a small business owner, I'm really in a situation I don't want to be, I've got to let somebody go, or I've let somebody recently go. It's caused my business some problems, and it's causing my people who work with some problems. So that's why it was set up specifically to help SMEs.
Yeah, I'm seeing it as you go. I know Steve knows, Tony, you probably know that I run business networking events, obviously virtual at the moment, because we can't go and breathe on people yet. And you know, I'm seeing that, you know, some businesses have been impacted by that, and unfortunately they've had to lay off staff. So be making my guys aware of it, you know, just so they know that support's available and free. Yeah. Okay, so basically, if there's someone that's in that process right now, then they need to contact you via the website. They can book an appointment effectively with you, and I guess you'll do like a training needs analysis, will you, with the person?
Yeah, where it comes from, I mean, DFF is mainly business focused, but obviously we pick up with individuals at work, have a chat with them where they are, what they're looking for. We would then pick up directly with the training provider, say, look, there's somebody here who needs your support. And it is a brokerage. It's a brokerage process, Paul, but it's one that people are just not aware of. And we're trying to centralise all the programs together to help people so they can actually access it with minimal of red tape.
Yeah, no, I get it. Totally get it. So other organisations in Northamptonshire, I guess like SEMLEP and the University of Northampton have some business support people. So do you work in partnership with those guys as well? How does that work?
Yeah, we do. Sorry, Steve, you don't mind?
No, you go for it, Tony.
So yeah, we work closely with SEMLEP and have done. I work with SEMLEP. I sit on a couple of their committees and boards and things. I have done for a number of years. Got very strong contacts with the Growth Hub, and very strong contacts with people who work on knowledge transfer partnerships, internships, all the various other programs that businesses might be looking at further down the line. And we had a very good meeting with Ray Irwin, who's a director of business and employability at the university this morning, talking about some of the programs that the university are doing. I've known Ray for a number of years, and very, very keen to pick up in terms of where they're looking to start with business support. It's great. There's lots of people coming out, but you know what these things are like, Paul. Sometimes they can get very fractured and very disparate, and there's bits of pockets everywhere. And I go far enough back to remember Business Link, and I'm sure you do, which was a patchy brand. Let's be very honest. There was the good, the bad, and the indifferent. But at least it was a centralised point, a focal area for businesses to go to for a load of, for advice or where things might be. And we work, as I said, the Growth Hub has been set up as a type of that, but it's difficult when a lot of the programs aren't going through the Growth Hub. And we've got some programs, universities got some. There are various areas, and it's trying to tie those bits up so we can at least help SMEs to point them in the right direction of the many issues that people are facing these days.
Yeah, if we're in a virtual world now, so if someone happens to see this and they're outside the SEMLEP area, presumably you'd still be able to signpost them to the right organisation.
Absolutely. I know I've got a list of people who've got the SSR contracts around the country. Because they all came out pretty much the same time on the government website. So they were announced as people who've won them. So we can certainly point people in the right direction of who've got the similar contracts in other areas, Paul. It's not just much exclusive to this area.
Okay, we'll use the sexy technology. We've got a question from the virtual floor. So Russell Parker, he's the guy that's put together this little redundancy support team that we're working. So his question, as you can see, is can other training companies get involved to help out?
It's a question of what do you mean by helping out? You've got a strange position in that the people we work with are approved training providers on European Social Fund contracts. And they've actually got the funded training to support people, so they don't charge employers. If there are other people out there doing a similar situation, i.e. they're providing support for people, which is companies are not getting charged for, more than happy to talk to them, because it's this is a free to use service from our end, if that makes sense. We could quite easily get into a situation where we're promoting 300 companies, most of which are charging lots of money, and that's not where Digital Future comes from.
Sure. Okay, so I guess to answer Russell's question, the route is through the already approved suppliers for this. It's like a pre-approved supplier list type thing.
It is, unless, as I say, if he's offering, and we're a community interest company, social enterprise. A lot of what we do a lot of voluntary support work as well. But if he's helping people through the redundancy packages and it's not costing the company anything, as I say, we're more than happy to link up and obviously promote and support that because that's where Digital Future First sits, really.
Okay, excellent. So you mentioned a couple of partners. So you've got Suppliant and DBFB. So you want to say a little bit about what those organisations do and how they support Digital First?
Sure, I'll take that one, shall I, Tony?
Please do.
Okay, so Suppliant, they specialise in e-commerce growth. So they work with businesses all over the country, in fact, to help them decide on the right e-commerce platform. But what they do, which is quite unique really out there in terms of digital marketing, is they provide businesses with growth plans. So they will sit down with a business owner, they'll try to understand what your goals are, what you're looking to achieve as that business owner, and then they will put together a growth plan which follows a very scientific system, which I won't bore you with all the details here, but essentially it's a very proven scientific system that allows them to scale those businesses up in a sustainable way. So we're not just talking about, making businesses grow in e-commerce during a national lockdown, because if your website's okay, that's quite easy to do, as we've all seen. But we're talking about businesses that started off on a very small turnover in terms of their online offering, and Suppliant partner up with them and work with them to get them to the sky's the limit. I mean, some of their clients are turning over £10 million a year online. So, you can, and they've been with them right from the very beginning. So that's what Suppliant does. They also provide SEO services. They also do lead generation for businesses as well. But obviously these are commercial services that they offer, and while there is an offer on for Digital Future First people to come through to Suppliant, they get reduced rates, but we must be clear that it is a commercial service and that the businesses would need to pay for those services. Database for Business, they're based in Northampton and Milton Keynes, and they specialise in things like super fast internet for businesses, They also do VoIP and Microsoft Teams, so VoIP telephone systems and IT support. And again, you know, they have an offer in place for people through Digital Future First to access reduced rates for their services. But again, we must be clear that they're a commercial business as well.
So yeah, just to pick up on that, Steve, if I don't mind, with Paul, there's a lot of free IT consultancy and support to try and identify where, you know, COVID, we're sitting in a virtual meeting ourselves here now. The technology has probably advanced 10 years in the last 10 months and is not going to stop. And I think where we're at is, you know, Steve's an advisor for DFF. You know, he will come along and sit and talk to people about where they're at with their e-commerce platform, digital and IT and technology, etc. And there are many companies out there providing services. It just happens Steve works for company A and company B. We don't necessarily refer straight through to supplier and DBFB. They're delivery partners, but they're one of many. And if a company needs something specific in X, then we'll obviously support them to try and access it in X. It's a clear route through in terms of helping people as much as we can within this, without any charges at all.
Okay. So is there, I think we've covered the redundancy aspect. Is there anything more on that you'd like to add, or because I was going to give you the opportunity to talk about some of the other programs you offer?
I'm okay, Steve. Is there anything you want to add from the conversations you've had recently on
no,
this?
I mean, I think, yeah, from my point of view, you know, from the SSR side of things, you know, it's just about getting that message out, letting business owners know that if they have employees that have been identified at risk or indeed been made redundant within the last 3 months, then there is support out there to help. You know, you don't have to go through this situation on your own. And that's really what Digital Future First is about, across the board, more than anything else. It's about saying to business owners, you don't have to go through this on your own. We're here to help you. And what's more, it's free. So you don't have to worry. It's not like you're going to get an invoice in the post or on email saying, you know, you've got to pay X amount of money for Steve's or Tony's time. It's all completely funded. So, you know, the idea of doing these things, these webinars and meeting up with people like Paul and other networking groups is just so that we can get that message out. Because as I've said to Paul before, and Paul, you'll know what I'm going to say now, but my biggest fear is as a business owner sitting there really full of anxiety and stress over the Christmas period, not knowing where to turn in 2021. And the most frustrating thing from my point of view is if he knows about us, or she knows about us, they're going to have a much nicer Christmas, because actually they can talk to us in January. We can tell them all the stuff that's available to support them and help them through these really tough times. Yeah. So, you know, it's about banging that drum as much as possible.
No, I said to you, as you're, you know, you're a not-for-profit organisation. You know, you're not looking to make money off the back end of this. Right. I'm happy to push it through, you know, my network, and I'm sure my colleagues that run other network groups likewise. You know, we're happy to be signpost to organisations like this for exactly the same reasons that you say. You know, you don't have to sit there with your head in your hands necessarily. When you guys could, you know, got things that you can help move people forward. So do you want to just run through some of the other sort of like key programs that you offer?
Sure.
This is in general.
Sure. So I suppose the first one I would start with, and I think probably a lot of our viewers today will have heard of this already, which is the Kickstart Scheme. So Kickstart Scheme, it's a new type of government scheme that was recently launched, and it's all about helping to encourage the employment of young people. But we're talking about people that are aged 16 to 24, currently on universal credit. So these are people that are having a tough time of it. Now, essentially, what we can do with the Kickstart Scheme, what's in it for a business owner? Well, it's a way for you to have a young individual in your business for 6 months, and it's not going to cost you a penny. The government will pay their wages, their national insurance, and the pension contribution. Oh, we lost you, Tony.
Yeah, apologies. The technology
pressed the wrong button.
Aren't the best sometimes. Apologies.
Tony works on our talent side. So everybody knows.
Allegedly.
Not the technology. Sorry. So, yeah, the Kickstart Scheme. So it's a way to have somebody in your business for free, quite simply. So you have a young individual, they can come in, they work up to 25 hours a week for your business. You get to choose that person as well. So, you know, it's not like you would be forced to choose an individual. You can choose the person who's right for your business via the usual interview methods, you know, for example, a group interview, that kind of thing. But the really great thing about Kickstart, apart from the fact that it's funded and that it's helping young people find a job or find a place in the world, is that on top of that, you can also get a rebate of up to £1,500. for each Kickstarter that you take on. So a lot of business owners use this to buy hardware, or maybe to help with their training and development. But the really interesting part about Kickstart is that you can get that, so you can have that somebody in your business for 6 months fully funded. But then what we're looking at with Digital Future First is what other packages, and maybe we can combine some things here. But Tony and I have been having some interesting conversations about skills support for the workforce. Now, skills support for the workforce is free, funded, accredited training for existing employees. And the idea is that if you've got knowledge gaps or skills gaps within your team, then you can have funded bespoke training through a local provider to you to help you train those employees up to fill those skills gaps, essentially, and those knowledge gaps. And so what we were talking about was that if you have a young individual that's doing, say, 6 months on the Kickstart scheme, at the end of that, we would then be looking to have a conversation with that young individual and that employer to see whether there would be any scope for skills support for the workforce, because then that way, it's more likely that that employee is going to stick around with that business owner, because they're going to get the training that they need, potentially for a future position, which then hopefully will lead to them having a full-time offer in the business. So that's the idea of the Kickstart scheme. The one point I do need to make about Kickstart is that the government, in their wisdom, decided that, and Tony knows what I'm going to say here, they decided that they would say, right, well, Kickstart, if you're interested in Kickstart, the minimum you can do is for 30 individuals, young individuals, which is not exactly helpful for an SME, because, you know, they're just not going to be able to do that. But the really good news is Tony's business, the Learning and Skills Academy, they're a recognised gateway. So the Learning and Skills Academy can help you with Kickstart, whether you want one or many of them. And again, we work with the Learning and Skills Academy to cut through that red tape as much as possible to help the business owners get through. In fact, anybody that's interested in Kickstart should go over to the kickstart.support website, which is Tony's Learning and Skills Academy site. There's an application form on there. Because it's a government form, there's quite a lot to add into it. But if you're interested in applying for Kickstart, we'll share that link over on the screen. I'm sure Paul can do that for you. And just jump on Tony's website and fill out the application, and then one of his team will be in touch with you to process that.
And just be aware, you know, we are a gateway. There are 5 or 6 gateways across Northamptonshire. We're all on the government website. You know, I work with the others, such as Rachel Mallows at Mallows. I work with the Chamber. I work with ACE. You know, so it's not. We've got a very good working relationship. We sort of work with each other for employers. I think we put 3 or 4 applications. Well, 4 applications this week through about 130, 140 jobs identified so far, Paul. Excellent. So hopefully we can help a lot of young people get that experience, and as Steve was saying, then access other programs, specifically skills support for the workforce, which will give them a level 2 qualification while they're in work, or at the end of it. So at least after 6 months, the worst they should walk away with is a qualification and 6 months work experience and a better understanding of how business works. And that's open to SMEs now. Anybody, any of your members can access that. There's no charges for any of that. We don't charge for that. We get paid separately from a separate funding stream from the Kickstart as a Kickstart gateway. So the employers have got no costs, salaries covered. You know, there's stuff out there, and I think I want to get this across. It's not us sort of promoting us to make money. Paul, believe me, there's programs out there that don't cost your members anything to get some support. If they want to take young people on, if they want to look at expanding and recruiting generally, as long as somebody's under 24 and they come through the job centre, because they have to be on universal credit, they're perfectly eligible to apply through any Kickstart gateway to get their registration and get started.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
So there are lots of funded talent schemes out there, and I mean, I think the key thing to say here is it's a little bit like we're broadcasting on the BBC here. We just need to say that there are other things available. Yeah, there are other services available. But the next thing I wanted to talk to you about was traineeships. So Traineeships are a fully funded government-backed program which is designed to help business owners grow their businesses. So they're completely funded. So you can have a trainee in your business. So they're 16 to 24-year-olds or 25-year-olds with an education, health and care plan. And the idea is this is to prepare them for the working world. So we've got to be very clear here. These young individuals will be coming out of college or maybe out of high school. and they won't really know about the working world or the working culture and all that kind of stuff. So what the traineeship does is it gives them an opportunity for them to learn how the working world works and get used to all the different ways of working. So essentially, with a traineeship, it's completely funded. So there's no cost for the business owner at all. National insurance, pensions, wages, all paid. And then, sorry?
Traineeships are people who remain on unemployment benefit.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm getting confused.
Kickstart, yes. You get that many of them, Paul. It's very easy to get.
Oh, no, I get it. I get it.
Traineeships are, and Steve's correct, that it's funded, but it's basically an opportunity for people to remain on benefits whilst in a work environment. So they'd get anything between sort of 6 weeks to 6 months in a working environment. They'd get access to functional skills, basic literacy, numeracy delivered by a training provider, and also access to a vocational qualification, again funded by a training provider. So you've got an opportunity. It's a bit of an employer saying, you know, I'll give a young person a chance. They're remaining on benefits. It costs the employer nothing, and that young person again is going to get access to a qualification, which will help them personally. And of course, the bonus on that, and Steve knows this, is that the employer themselves get paid £1,000 for doing that, £500 at the beginning and £500 at the end. So there's a quite a decent incentive to support it. And the employers that we speak to, a bit of common sense, they use part of that to give the person travel, you know, and a bit of lunch money so that they're not out of pocket, because there's no point taking somebody who's not, you know, who just feels you've been should we say, being used. So you got to do it properly.
Yeah, you've got to be fair and reasonable, haven't you, about
Absolutely.
These? Yeah.
Okay.
Steve.
The next one was to talk about was apprenticeships. So with the apprenticeships, these aren't funded. So there is a grant that you get for each apprentice that you take on. I'll tell you about that in a moment. But essentially what it is that you, as the business owner, if you take the apprentice on, you would be paying their wages, national insurance and so on at the national minimum wage, which is age relevant. These are for 16 to 24-year-olds. The point is, and this is quite a short time frame, but if you take on an apprentice who is under 25 before January of 2021, you can get up to £3,000 per apprentice that you take on.
Yeah, that's just been recently extended by the Chancellor by, I think it's 2 months to the end of March. So you're right, Steve. It was one of these sentences that slipped past most people. It's only because I had somebody ringing me up saying, were you aware of it? You know, up to the end of March next year, taking on an apprentice, and they've got to be in work. Steve's right. You know, it's somebody in work. They can be already in work, and you want to put them on an apprenticeship, or you take on a new member of staff and put them into an apprenticeship as a job. But there's government grants. The apprenticeships themselves are either fully funded or 95% funded. So there's a huge bonus in terms of taking on people and either taking them on and put them onto apprenticeships, or putting your staff who you've currently got into an apprenticeship to give them additional skills to support your business as well.
So yeah, so that's really good news that they've extended that. So that's the end of March, is it now? Then
yeah, March.
So that's great. So yeah, so as long as it's under 25, you can get up to £3,000 per candidate, which is obviously a really great way. And actually, there's no limit to the number of incentives that you can claim. So you know, in terms of those apprenticeships, if you're a fairly large SME, then you know that could be a really good way for you to grow your workforce, but also have a bit of a cash injection coming into the company as well.
So we've got another question from the virtual floor, if you can read that. So if someone takes on someone under a Kickstart scheme, it's their first-time employer, is there support to help them understand the process?
Yeah, absolutely. And not just from our end, there's stuff on the government website, gov.uk, about Kickstart. If you go to, and not just ours, but you know, we've got kickstart.support. There's a page on there helping you understand the process. What we've done, we've got about 35 employers. I've produced a 2-page document, Paul, which I'm more than happy to give to you to hand out to your members, which will hopefully explain the process a bit more. But you know, it's unfortunately, being government, it's not a 2-minute exercise. There are 2 or 3 stages to go through. It's taking on average about 6 weeks. So you know, yeah, the short answer is yes.
Okay, all right, thanks, cheers.
So more on skill support for the workforce now. So this is funded tailored training that supports both individuals and businesses by reducing or removing the cost of training staff. So what do you get with this then? So you would get your local training provider would provide you with probably a virtual training needs analysis for your business. And the idea is they're going to identify the skills that you need to support your business ambitions. Now the training itself, excuse me, is flexible. So you can pick full qualifications or mix and match individual units to suit your business. There is also on-the-job vocational training to meet individual and business needs, including taught learning, workplace assessment, distance learning, and online learning. You even get access to vocational qualifications, digital and employability skills, functional skills, upskilling for the workplace, upskilling for workplace success, and career progression training. There's learning pathways for your employees, which enable them to either retrain if under threat of redundancy, as we've already said, or progress within your organisation onto a higher level qualifications or apprenticeships. So this is access to a range of recognised accredited qualifications and training courses to enhance the employee's skills.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, there's loads, Paul. I mean, I'd rather than spend weeks doing it. There's stuff that is aimed, I suppose, through the Growth Hub, which is the centralised area, and in Northampton, it's in the Innovation Centre next to the train station, part well run by university, part funded by ESF again, and they are very good in terms of almost a centralised area. You know, I was talking earlier about pulling things together. We've got a great relationship with the Growth Hub. I've got a lot of time for them. There's some really good people down there, and they're answering queries on everything from premises to finance to post-COVID to what's available, grants here and there. And we're working with them in the next week or two to try and pull something together so that the Digital Future First and the Growth Hub are a little closely aligned, so we can actually make sure employers are getting the best out of this. But some of the stuff they're doing, you've got a lady there called Charlotte Patrick who works for the university. There's a knowledge transfer partnership, which is aimed at, you might have a specific project that you want to do in your business. I suppose this is more aimed at the sort of 10, 20, 30 plus employee size, but it's to work with the university to get a graduate or postgraduate into your business who's got the knowledge of how to help you deliver that project. A lot of it tends to be aimed at engineering for obvious reasons. You're talking about specific things, but a lot of it now these days is technology. There is a grant available to minimise costs of that in terms of the salary of the person and also the university help on that. They do internships, which I think everyone's probably aware of what an intern is, but they also do work placements from a university point of view, which Steve and I were just talking to, as I said to Ray Owen this morning, and it was something I hadn't come across before, where the university, as part of a graduate's assessment, as part of their portfolio, their actual degree, they would ask people to work, their students, to get a placement inside work and actually work inside a business at a level to provide them. And there's no cost to the business for this at all, because officially they're still in education and they're helping a business in terms of a work placement. So things like this, there's lots and lots of bits sitting here, and you know, we get to hear about more and more every day. And I think we're in the position of just trying to collate as much as possible without going to the nth degree on everything, Paul, so that at least businesses have got routes to actually know and could just register and say, look, I'm interested in finding out what on earth is around that could help me. You know, and if we don't directly deliver things, we are the conduit of knowledge, if that makes sense, to try and support, to get them to say, it might be, I want to find new premises. Great, let's work with you, work with the Growth Hub to find some, you know, some commercial estate agents. It might be, I haven't got enough time to do what I want to do. All right, let's look at where you are in your own personal development. Where are you business planning? Again, working with external agencies who might be able to provide you with some support that's not a cost for you or a prohibitive cost, if that makes sense. So there's lots of bits. Yeah.
No, I think you did an interview with me, Steve, didn't you? Just to look at, you know, what I might be able to take advantage of. It's quite a painless process. So, you know, from a point of view, I'd say any small business owner that's, you know, uncertain of what's out there should definitely get in touch with you guys. You know, have an interview with Steve. I know with anybody else does the interviews, but it's useful just to have that someone asks you a few questions about your business, try and identify what opportunities are out there. Personally, for me, I'm not at a stage where I'm going to take on employees, but I know businesses out there are. Obviously, the person on earlier on the call, I know someone else is looking for someone at the moment, would consider a younger person in this role. That's on the back end of taking advantage of the Kickstart grant. They've got that for a pilot program, and they'd love someone to be able to sort of run with that and build that business. So I'll probably put those guys in touch with you. So yeah, I appreciate your time today, guys. I don't want to take up any more of your valuable time, but I would just sort of reiterate, get in touch with Digital Future First. If you do nothing else, just sign up to these guys' newsletter just to make sure you're not missing out, because I'm sure as we progress into Brexit and continue with COVID, there may be other things that the government sort of brings out to support small business to get the economy back on track. And I guess you guys will be ahead of that curve and know what's out there as it comes out.
Hopefully, Paul, and my thanks to you and your members and stuff listening and taking the time out to do this. It is literally, as you just said, there's a lot of stuff out there. If you don't know what it is, you can't get a hold of it.
Okay, gents, I think your ordeal is over. So again, thank you for giving us a rundown on that. I'll end the broadcast now, and we'll make this available as a video, and I'll put that around my network and do the usual sort of like social media stuff. So thanks again.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.